Israel's Netanyahu dissolves war cabinet. Warning shots fired as North Korean troops cross border. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Olivia Nicholas and you're watching World Today. Malaysia and Turkey have agreed to increase humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. Through a post on his Facebook page, Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the matter was discussed during a teleconference with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan yesterday. He added the Turkish president also shared his experience of public concern through protests held against genocide committed by Israel in Gaza when he was attending the G7 summit in Italy recently. Both leaders also reiterated commitments in strengthening the cooperation between the two countries in the field of defense, economy, culture, trade and investments. Dato Sri Anwar once again invited Erdogan for a visit to Malaysia sometime in July or August. He said the visit would be more meaningful as it coincides with the 60th anniversary of bilateral relationship between Malaysia and Turkey. On the same note, Pakistan also stated its solidarity against the atrocities committed by Israeli regime upon displaced Gazans. The support was voiced by Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif during a teleconversation with Dato Sri Anwar. Dato Sri Anwar also planned to meet Shehbaz in Islamabad soon to strengthen bilateral relationship between Malaysia and Pakistan. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dissolved the war cabinet following the resignation earlier this month of centrist leader Benny Gantz. David Mensa, spokesman at the Prime Minister's office, said with Gantz's departure, there has been no need for a war cabinet as its duties will be taken over by the Security Cabinet. The move was announced as U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein visited Jerusalem, seeking to calm the situation on the disputed border with Lebanon, where Israel said tensions with the Iran-backed Hezbollah were bringing the region close to a wider conflict. Israeli media said the move, which was not expected to trigger any major policy shift, was meant to counter pressure from far-right politicians seeking a greater say in decision-making. The war cabinet was formed after Gantz had left the opposition to join Netanyahu's government following Hamas's unprecedented 7th of October attack. Israeli media reported that Netanyahu dissolved the war cabinet to avoid including far-right coalition members in the sensitive forum, fearing harm to relations with Western allies such as the United States. Mensa declined to Anwar when asked if Netanyahu's decision aimed to rebuff his far-right partners and tighten his grip over decision-making. Meanwhile, at least one person was wounded and 9 arrested on Monday night after police clashed with anti-government protesters near Netanyahu's Jerusalem home. After reaching Netanyahu's house, some of the protesters broke off and tried to break through barriers set up by the police, who pushed them back. Police used a water cannon to disperse the demonstration. Netanyahu once again sits atop one of the most right-wing coalition in Israel's history after a wartime unity government fell apart a week ago when two centrist former generals Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot quit. Following the departures of Gantz and Eisenkot, opposition groups declared a week of street protests that include blocking highways and mass demonstrations. European Union leaders ended a discussion on who should take the bloc's top jobs for the next 5 years without agreement, aiming instead for a decision at a summit next week. The leaders' meeting was the first since the European Parliament election. Briefing reporters afterwards, European Council President Charles Michel insisted the leaders' dinner was never intended to seal a final deal on the EU's top 3 jobs, heading the Commission, chairing summits and stewarding the bloc's diplomacy.
It's a good conversation. It goes in the right direction, I think, but there's no agreement tonight at this stage.
Several leaders signalled a consensus was forming that would hand Ursula von der Leyen a second term, put the socialist former Portuguese Premier Antonio Costa at the head of the council, and have Estonia's Prime Minister Kaja Kallas succeed Josep Borrell as the bloc's High Representative. Hopes of an agreement as early as Monday floundered after diplomats said leaders from von der Leyen's centre-right European People's Party (EPP), the biggest group in the new EU Parliament, appeared to be pushing for a bigger slice of the positions. To secure the nod from EU leaders, von der Leyen, 65, needs support from a qualified majority of 15 out of 27 countries, covering at least 65% of the bloc's population. Dozens of North Korean soldiers briefly crossed the heavily fortified border with the south earlier today and retreated after warning shots were fired. It is the second such incident involving North Korean troops in 2 weeks, with Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff saying they believe the crossing, like a previous one, was accidental. The two Koreas remain technically at war as the 1950 to 1953 conflict ended in an armistice, not a peace treaty, with the demilitarized zone and line of control dividing the peninsula of the most heavily mined places in the world. Seoul's military also said several North Korean soldiers had been injured when a landmine exploded near the border without revealing the date. The official said North Korea has deployed troops along the front line to create barren land since April, adding the North was also laying more landmines, reinforcing tactical roads and adding what appeared to be anti-tank barriers. Iran's presidential candidates held their first televised debate ahead of the upcoming snaps election later this month. Iran's Guardian Council, which oversees elections and legislation, has approved 6 candidates to run in the election after the death of the President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash in May. On the list are Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf, Iran's hardline parliament speaker and former Revolutionary Guards commander Saeed Jalili, a conservative who was former chief nuclear negotiator and ran Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's office for 4 years, and Tehran's conservative mayor Ali Reza Sakaneh. The candidates also include Masoud Pezeshkian, a reformist lawmaker, Mustafa Poramohammadi, a hardliner and a former interior minister, and Amir Hussein Ghazizadeh Hashemi, a conservative politician. Monday's debate focused on Iran's declining economy, with candidates laying out their visions for growth amid Western sanctions and rampant inflation. Iran is due to conduct snap elections on the 28th of June after the death of President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash. At least 8 people were killed when an express passenger train and a goods train collided in the India's West Bengal state, derailing 3 passenger carriages. Images on Indian broadcasters show tangled wreckage of carriages flipped on their side and one thrust high into the air, precariously balanced on another. West Bengal's Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said the crash took place in the Pansi Dewa area of Darjeeling district when the Kanjagunja express train was hit by a goods train.
जब आके देखा तो एक तो बुगी इंजन के ऊपर में उठा हुआ था, और उसके बाद एनडीआरएफ का टीम आया और हम लोग का पुलिस प्रशासन सीधा खजीदा थाना का और नज़दीक का जितना आरपीएफ है सब आया। उसके बाद रेस्क्यू टीम आया, उसके बाद रेस्क्यू करना चालू किया तो देखा बहुत सारा आदमी का डेड बॉडी लेके जा रहा है एम्बुलेंस में।
हम यही बोलना चाह रहे हैं, अच्छा से इन लोग जो अभी जो एक्सीडेंट हो रहा है ये बहुत डेंजरस हो रहा है। अभी हम लोग ट्रेन में कभी सोचते हैं कि ट्रेन में कभी ट्रैवल करेंगे तो क्या होता है, अंदर से हम लोग का डर महसूस होता है।
In June last year, a 3-train collision killed nearly 300 people in Odisha state. In recent years, India has been investing huge sums of money to upgrade the network with modern stations and electronic signalling systems. 3 people died after a shooting took place in the lobby of an office building in North York, Toronto, which is near a daycare and an elementary school. Police said the person responsible for the shooting is believed to be among those found dead. Police received a distress call in relation to sound of gunshots at approximately 3:25 p.m. Police officers were dispatched to the location and entered the premises, behind where they found 3 individuals laying dead without further revealing the identity of the deceased. The school and daycare were put on lockdown and no students or other parties were affected by the incident. According to the police, the shooting may have been the result of an altercation related to the business conducted in the premises, without going into specifics. The government of Peru will be investigating sex abuse allegations leveled by hundreds of indigenous children against teachers in a jungle region of the South American country. A total of 524 cases of rape and abuse dating as far back as 2010 have been reported by girls and boys from the Awajun indigenous group who attended public schools in the Condorcanqui province in Peru's north. The alleged crimes at school residences were revealed last month by Rosemary Pioch, representative of an Awajun Women's Association. The announcement of an investigation came after 2 government ministers provoked widespread anger by equating the alleged abuse with cultural practices.
Se había explicado que no justificaba en modo alguno el abuso a las menores, pero que había que contemplar también, no sé cómo explicarlo para que no resulte indebida mi respuesta, un hecho, una práctica, un hecho cultural que se producía también al interior de esas comunidades. Sin embargo, y en esto quiero ser muy claro, por favor, nada justifica que se pueda violentar el interés superior de la niña, el niño o el adolescente.
Adian Zen said the victims will have to receive comprehensive healthcare, including psychological help and HIV treatment if necessary. Peru's human rights ombudsman called for implicated teachers to be immediately removed from the schools they taught at. Still to come, another tourist dead in Greece, others missing as heat toll rises. That and more coming up. Leading EU pork exporter, Spain is working with European Union officials to avoid damaging tariffs after Beijing said it would open an anti-dumping inquiry. China's investigation appears mainly targeted at Spain, the Netherlands, France and Denmark, the 3 biggest EU exporters of pork to China. Director of Spanish Pig Producers Association Interpork, Alberto Herranz, said that they are capable of facing new challenges and overcoming difficulties. The investigation, announced by China's Commerce Ministry on Monday, will focus on pork for human consumption, such as fresh, cold and frozen whole cuts, as well as pig intestines, bladders and stomachs. Thousands of Colombian teachers and their supporters marched in Bogota against an education reform that's underway in Congress. The protesters claim the planned reform would undermine teachers' rights and the integrity of the public education system. The Take of Bogota strike, led by major teachers union FECOD, walked to the Congress building in the Bolivar Square as teachers and protesters held Colombian flags and banners opposing the bill. FECOD claimed in a statement senators included amendments to the bill they originally agreed with the government undermining public education by privatizing it and eliminate preschool grades from the public system, among others.
Respete el objetivo de ley estatutaria de educación para garantizar el derecho fundamental, para que los recursos del Estado sean para la educación pública estatal.
Entonces, básicamente, nosotros le pedíamos al gobierno de Gustavo Petro que también él se sintiera un poquito y tratara de ir con estos senadores y entablar un diálogo para que lleguemos a una justa solución.
The union initiated a national strike on the 12th of June, calling for the government to halt the legislative process of the bill. Education is part of an ambitious set of reforms President Gustavo Petro pledged to push during his term, along with retirement pensions, healthcare and labor. Brazilian President Lula da Silva urged his government to speed up actions in the Amazon to combat organized crime that has contributed to the destruction of the world's largest tropical rainforest. Lula complained that it had taken a year for a security plan for the Amazon, known as AMAS, to get off the ground, saying there was still much to be done to be set up an international police center in Manaus. The president spoke from the government palace in Brasilia in an event sealing the transfer of $58.6 million to fund the security plan. The resources come from the $1.3 billion Amazon fund originally set up by Norway to back sustainability and stop illegal deforestation in the Amazon. The fund, managed by Brazil's National Development Bank, has been supported by donations from Germany, Britain, Denmark, the European Union and the US. The Amazon Security Plan is the first project sponsored by the fund aimed at combating environmental crimes in the vast region. The rainforest has faced systematic destruction from illegal logging and coal mining, and criminal gangs use it as a conduit for drug trafficking and the smuggling of tropical animals. A 55-year-old American has been found dead, the third tourist death in a week following a period of unusually hot weather. Police did not share the identity of the dead American, whose body was found near a beach on Matraki on Sunday. Temperatures soared above 40 degrees Celsius earlier this month, just as the holiday season began across Greece's remote beaches, ancient sites and mountain trails. The early heat wave has coincided with a spate of disappearance and deaths of tourists across the Mediterranean country, highlighting the dangers of heat exposure. The body of British TV presenter Michael Mosley was found on the island of Simi on the 9th of June following a 4-day search operation by aircraft, drones and boats. A 74-year-old Dutch tourist was found dead on the island of Samos on a Saturday, and 2 hikers were found dead on Crete on the 5th of June. Rescue teams were also searching for 2 French women aged 73 and 64 on the island of Mykonos and a 59-year-old US policeman on Amargos. At least 11 people have died in El Salvador due to torrential rains that have lashed Central America's Pacific coast since the weekend, while nearly 900 people are still in temporary shelters. Civil Protection Chief Luis Amaya said the victims, which include children, died as a result of landslides or accidents caused by trees falling onto roads. The rains have soaked swaths of land across the Pacific coast from southern Mexico down to western Panama. Forecasters have predicted more rain through the week and warned this could be exacerbated by a storm that is soon forecast to form over the Gulf of Mexico. Both the Pacific and Atlantic have entered the start of their hurricane seasons. In Ecuador, rescuers on Monday removed 3 bodies of people who died in a landslide a day earlier amid a heavy rainstorm that battered parts of Central and South America. Heavy missionary and rescue teams were deployed in the hills of Banos, a city popular with foreign and local tourists in central Ecuador, to find the bodies and assist injured and affected residents. A heavy rainstorm caused by low pressure swept across parts of Central and South America on Sunday, with various countries warning of the increased risk of landslides, rockfalls and flooding. Streets and roads were still covered with mud on Monday, affecting public transport and leaving residents to travel on foot with their belongings, as school also suspended classes. A wildfire burning the northwest of Los Angeles has scorched over 14,000 acres as of Monday. Approximately 400 firefighters equipped with 70 fire trucks and 2 bulldozers have been battling the post-fire throughout the weekend. Currently, the fire is only 8% contained, as reported by the LA County Fire Department. The blaze is located south of Gorman, California, roughly 96.5 kilometers northwest of Los Angeles. Efforts to contain the wildfire are being severely hampered by high temperatures, low humidity and strong winds. Next in sports, late drama as Slovakia shocked Belgium at Euro 2024. Stay tuned. Slovakia caused the first upset at Euro 2024 as Ivan Šarans fired the underdogs to a 1-0 win against Belgium this morning. Francesco Calzona's side are 45 spots below third-place Belgium in FIFA's world rankings. However, they made a mockery of the supposed quality gap between the teams with a courageous performance in Frankfurt. Slovakia coach Calzona, who also served as Napoli's interim boss in the second half of last season, had admitted he would be delighted with a draw. The Italian got more than he could have dreamed of as Strange left Belgium reeling after ending his 9-game international goal drought. Romelu Lukaku missed a host of chances for Belgium and had 2 possible equalizers disallowed by VAR. Slovakia's unexpected victory blew Group E wide open just hours after Romania beat Ukraine 3-0 in Monday's other match in that pool. It was a bitter loss for Belgium, who are already in danger for once again falling to fulfill their potential at a major tournament. Belgium's golden generation has lost much of its luster since they crashed out of their 2022 World Cup in the group stage. Maximilian Wöber's own goal was enough to give France a winning start to their Euro 2024 campaign as they edged Austria 1-0 in their opening game. Wöber diverted Mbappé cutback into his own net 7 minutes before halftime in Düsseldorf to allow the French, one of the leading contenders to win the tournament, to come through a stiff test. Austria have been much improved under Ralf Rangnick, and they often made life uncomfortable for the 2022 World Cup runners-up. Ousmane Dembele gave the ball to Mbappé on the right and he produced a step over to get to the byline before his cutback was nodded into the far corner of his own net by the unfortunate Wöber. The new Real Madrid signing, however, failed to convert a glorious chance that would have allowed France to win a wider margin. The result leaves France a level on 3 points in Group D with the Netherlands, who defeated Poland 2-1 on Sunday. France and the Netherlands meet next in Leipzig on Friday, while Austria face Poland the same day in Berlin. Meanwhile, the France victory came at a cost as talisman Mbappé suffered a suspected broken nose. Mbappé had violently collided with the shoulder of Australian defender Kevin Gansor as they competed for the ball in the air. The star striker left the pitch in the 90th minute as blood poured from his nose. Play initially continued after the accidental collision with Mbappé prone in the opposition box until Austria goalkeeper Patrick Pence signalled to the referee that the Frenchman required attention. The new Real Madrid signing came back onto the pitch and promptly sat down as the referee brandished a yellow card in his direction for re-entering the field of play without permission. Mbappé was then replaced by veteran attacker Olivier Giroud. Philippe Diallo, president of the French Football Federation, confirmed to reporters in Düsseldorf that Mbappé would at least not require an operation. France's next game is against the Netherlands in Leipzig on Friday, but Deschamps must still want to find out if his star player can feature. Romania won at a major international tournament for the first time in 24 years on Monday as they beat Ukraine 3-0. Captain Nicolae Sanciu, a magnificent long-range strike, gave Romania, backed by the vast majority of Munich crowd, a first-half lead in their Group E opener. Razvan Marin's shot from distance then skipped under Lunin as Romania turned the screw with 2 more goals before the hour. Dragos effectively wrapped up the victory shortly after he prodded in as man knocked the ball across the 6-yard box following a well-worked short corner. It was a disastrous start to the campaign for Ukraine, who must quickly regroup with games to follow against Slovakia and Belgium. In tennis, Daniil Medvedev and Hubert Hurkacz each got off to winning starts in the opening round at Halle on Monday, while Felix Auger-Aliassime was forced to retire from his opening match. Despite facing a set point at 5-6 in the opening set, the third seed defeated Portugal Nuno Borges 7-6, 6-4 to reach the second round of the Terra Wortmann Open. Medvedev claimed his first grass court win of 2024 in 1 hour and 31 minutes. A finalist this year at the Australian Open and BNP Paribas Open, Medvedev is now 22-1 against players outside the top 20 this season. He will play Chinese number 1 Zhang Zijian, who battled past Sebastian Offner 7-6, 6-7, 6-4. Hurkacz also faced a tiebreak but still got the better of Italy's Fabio Cobolli in straight sets, going 7-5, 7-6. Next up for the poll is either wildcard Joao Fonseca of Brazil or Australian qualifier James Duckworth. Meanwhile, number 8 seed Olga Alisme was down to wildcard Dominic Koepfer of Germany when he was forced to retire due to a left hip injury in the second set at 6-4, 4-3. The German will play the winner of the match between Frenchman Arthur Fils and Thomas Bachart next. World number 3 Aryna Sabalenka will not play at the Paris Olympics in order to focus on her health and prepare for the hardcore tournaments. The Australian Open champion said with the struggles she is facing within the last few months, she had to prioritise her health instead of chasing tournaments. She added that she needs a little rest to make sure she is healthy and physically ready for the hard courts. The 26-year-old Belarusian won the Australian Open in January but was knocked out by 17-year-old Russian Mira Andreeva in the French Open quarterfinals this month. Sabalenka will next be in action against Russian Daria Kasatkina in the last 16 in Berlin. And that wraps up our bulletin this afternoon. A recap of our top story today: Israel's Netanyahu dissolves war cabinet. Do join us again this evening on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM for more. Till then, I'm Olivia Nicholas. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.